in 40 years of teaching and having been at 3 major universities over my lifetime here and probably been on 100 different campuses, one of the things I'm always excited about is having a campus where there is so much to do that you don't know what you can afford to miss and what you should go to. And one of the things I want to thank Nani and Chris for is giving us still another wonderful set of seminars to pique your interest and to be able to discover new passions that you might have in expanding our intellectual universe. So I want to thank both of you for putting this together. I'm going to say only a couple words, and then we're going to turn to our guests, who I think are going to give us a very interesting, 2 interesting perspectives on this. Particularly in times like this, when we have sluggish economic growth, unemployment rates of 9.6% nationally, as high as 12.5% in some states like California, there's a natural tendency for political leaders to want to do everything they can to attract business and jobs. It's their job. They should be doing that. And the question is what are the effective ways of doing that? And when should you do it, and in what ways? And in what cases should you stay out of this business and leave it to the private market? This is a long-standing debate that goes back actually hundreds of years. But we see it all the time, and we see it particularly in states like Massachusetts, which have been aggressive in attempting to become centers of investment and growth. And indeed, under the current administration, we've seen rather dramatic improvements in the economy, 64,000 new jobs since January. I was just talking, I addressed the Mass Mayors Association on Monday, and I pointed out that Massachusetts has 2.4% of all the jobs in the United States, but 9.4% of all the jobs created since January. That's an incredible record. How do you get to the point where you become a magnet for investment? How do you get to the point where you can create those jobs? Well, we're going to have these 2 people, and I thought when you introduced them with the yellow tie, I thought given the nature of the debate I think we're going to have, you would have said, in the blue trunks. But I would like to just introduce this by suggesting that there are many economists, John Poca from our economics department and myself, who have written about these issues. And there are many reasons why we have seen governments do things which seem to have very, very low benefit-cost ratios. That is, we spend a lot of money, we don't get much benefit from it. You know, every once in a while you'll see stories that we created a tax incentive that cost us $1.3 million per job. And one of the questions you might ask is why do we do this at all? In the first answer, I actually wrote a chapter on this in our book, The Urban Experience, a textbook that I wrote a few years ago, is that governments are run by politicians who need to demonstrate to their constituencies that they're working hard to solve problems like unemployment. A closely related reason is found in the literature on stakeholders. Even if the real cost-benefit ratio associated with a particular incentive is greater than 1, costs exceed benefits, and even if a majority of constituents, if mobilized, would urge denial of the development scheme, a small group of powerful stakeholders can carry the day because of the real gain accruing to them. And then there's a third reason, and that's kind of the prisoner's dilemma. If Michigan, with even a higher unemployment rate than ours, is trying to steal our business, Evergreen, for example, or A123 battery, how do we fight back? And while it may not be in the interest of either Michigan or Massachusetts to offer all kinds of special incentives, we're almost goaded into it. I do remember years and years and years ago, almost 30 years ago, I was at MIT, and a professor there, Lester Thoreau, and I were asked by Jim Blanchard, then the governor of Michigan, who had come to Cambridge to discuss how should Michigan play this game of competing incentives. And Lester Thoreau, well-known economist, said what Governor Blanchard, who had just been inaugurated, should do is announce to all of the other governors that no matter what they did, Michigan would undercut their offer, and in thus try and avoid the so-called prisoner's dilemma. Well, with that as a very quick beginning, let's turn it over to Secretary O'Connell and get his perspective and focus to some extent on the film credit, which I think you played a pretty important role on.
Thank you very much.